Robert Sumowski, Myrick, distinguished faculty, guests, parents, and most important, graduates of the Townsend School of Music's class of 2026. I'm honored to have been invited to speak with you today. Good afternoon. Though it's been said that one cannot go home again, that phrase is never applied to the Townsend School of Music. Where returning home means being welcomed with open arms, and it's good to be home. I performed my senior recital in Newton Chapel in May of 1989. My faculty advisor for those 4 years was a 30-something, eccentric, chain-smoking pianist with an afro maybe and all. As you know, Dr. Altman was a true individual who influenced thousands of students and has left an indelible mark on Townsend. In the 1980s, Mercer music majors attended classes in Ware Music Hall, which was near Connell Student Center. University bands were based in the Newton basement across the street. And when it rained for extended periods, it flooded so severely that we had to move the percussion instruments to higher ground. It's true. While the settings and faces have changed over time, Mercer music is still Mercer music. Its goal is to evoke within you, its students, the highest attainable levels of musicianship, pedagogy, character, is as strong today as it was in years past. It's developing musicians searching for our musical voices. Music majors of the 1980s took our studies pretty seriously. Still being artistic types, we possessed independent spirits with an occasional streak of rebellion. Today, this is called being passive-aggressive. Ware Music Hall had none of the luster of this McCorkle or the McDuffie facility down the road. The place was clearly low rent. It had not been renovated since at least the 1950s, and Stanley and Marie can attest to this, because we were all there at the same time. Sometime in the 1960s, somebody installed these 2-foot-tall, bronze-colored plastic resin busts of the great composers. They mounted them to pedestals throughout the building. Okay? Once one of us discovered that those pedestals and that those busts were not permanently affixed to the pedestals, the challenge was on. Late one evening, temptation got the best of me, and I liberated Johann Sebastian Bach from his perch. That evening, the famed composer took residency on the windowsill in my dorm room on the 2nd floor of Sherwood Hall. Johann became our dorm mascot. This arrangement worked very well for both Bach and me for a couple of weeks. Then someone took it upon themselves to inform theory professor Richard B. Nelson about the composer's new date. Apparently, Dr. Nelson was none too pleased that Bach now sported an Atlanta Braves hat and Ray-Bans. But I think what troubled him the most was that the statue had taken up smoking. I figured a guy who had been dead 230 years probably deserved a smoke break. Okay? And still, the idea of Bach with a Marlboro light dangling from his lips just was a little more than Richard B. Nelson could handle. So one day, Dr. Nelson asked to see me after class. Oh, yeah, I knew it was my deed again, right? Looking simultaneously annoyed and somewhat amused. He told me that he understood that I had in my possession something that rightfully belonged in Ware Music Hall, and that he expected to see it in its proper place by the end of the day. You have never seen a guy hightail it to and from Sherwood Hall at quite the speed it took for me to return the contraband composer. While at Mercer, I had the privilege of manning the drum kit and the jazz ensemble for 4 years, and we sometimes added a conga player. One spring break, the jazz ensemble and Mercer singers did a joint tour of Mexico. We had 5 great gigs at some really fine facilities throughout that country. Upon arrival at our Grand Hotel in Mexico City, we learned that the college had rented an extra hotel room in which to store our gear. An 18-piece jazz band has a lot of gear. Jazz director Benny Ferguson gave me the room key in case we needed access or to practice. Then he left. That's when conga player Colin Blakely opened the refrigerator. Dude. Inside we discovered cerveza, cigarettes, snacks, little bottles of distilled liquid spirits. I asked Colin, "Hey man, you think this stuff is like free?" And he replied, "Of course it's free. When you rent the room, you get everything in it. Kind of like those soaps and lotions they give you to take home." That made sense to me. I can't tell you exactly what happened in Mexico City that evening, but I'm pretty sure it was legendary. All I can remember is that the next morning when we went downstairs to board the bus, we got off the elevator to what sounded like a madman screaming in the grand lobby. Turns out it was Benny Ferguson, and he was hot. Apparently housekeeping had inventoried that refrigerator. All I remember was Benny slamming his fist on the front desk, saying, "What do you mean? I owe you 40,000 pesos? We got in trouble. We got on that bus faster than a Mercer kid with a stolen statue. As each of you graduates know, a degree in music is earned through 1,000 hours of sweat, rehearsals, development of technique, and an understanding of harmonic structure. There are just no shortcuts. The rigor the class of 2026 has experienced has been substantial. You've navigated an exacting curriculum demanding excellence at every bend in the road. You've put in hours of unseen rehearsal. You've felt the joy of completely nailing a musical passage you have worked months to perfect. Many of you have played Carnegie Hall. As you know, music is a gift. Music paints what would otherwise be a mundane black and white world with splashes of brilliant color. It breathes life into that which once was dormant and unimaginative. Music reminds us that despite the confusions, the challenges, and the discord of the world around us, the world is actually a beautiful place if we choose to see it and if we choose to hear it. Imagine a world without the beauty of experiences like this. That magical reawakening of nature that Copeland painted across Appalachian Spring, where one can almost smell and taste the opening of the flowers, the scattering of the fauna, and the bubbling of brooks and streams. What about the glory and triumph of Handel's Messiah on a crisp December evening? The plaintive wail of John Coltrane's Alabama. The haunting pain behind Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit. Or Nina Simone's poignant rendition of Sunday in Savannah, just hours after learning of the death of her dear friend, Dr. Martin Luther King. There are other beautiful musical moments. How about the impassioned messages of revolution woven throughout Les Miserables? The tenderness of a piece like Stanley Meyer's Cavatina, played on a lone guitar, or the quirky bounce of Debussy's Gollywog's Cakewalk. Do you remember the moment you caught your breath when you first heard the main theme of Forey's Move On? Folks, this is what you and I get to do. Not only to understand and to play these pieces, but then to be able to share them in a celebration of the beauty of the human experience. Not a bad way to spend a career, is it? As great as your Mercer experiences have been, your adventures, your life, and your career really are just beginning. Let's talk about that career. Some people will never understand why you chose this field, and that's okay. They don't have to. I think you've chosen wisely. Still, music can be a fickle mistress. Because it originates from our inner beings, creativity cannot be turned off. There is no knob on the faucet. As a result, creating music can be both a blessing and a curse. Harry Chapin wrote, "Music has been my oldest friend and my fiercest foe." This fate is part of the package that you and I ordered the moment that we adopted music as our lifelong muse. When frustrated, find communion among the musicians in your inner circle. The Taoists have long told us that there's no such thing as a problem that does not hold a gift for you in its hands. And music is a gift. Sometimes a painful gift, but always a gift. We get better when we play at the edge of our ability. So play with everyone you can. If you look around the room and you are the best player there, it's time to find a new circle of musicians. Take chances. Seek out opportunities to perform, even when the act of introducing yourself is uncomfortable. On Earth Day 1990, my Mercer buddy Leighton Moore asked me to accompany him on Congress for an acoustic set at a festival in Central City Park. After we finished, next on the bill was respected Atlanta singer-songwriter Caroline Aiken. All I knew about Caroline was that Bonnie Raitt had played on her album. My local mentor, J-Mo from the Allman Brothers Band, had been her drummer, and she helped Indigo Girls score some of their first gigs on the Atlanta scene. After going back and forth about wondering whether I should offer to sit in, I took a deep breath and I hollered across the stage as she was tuning up her guitar, "Hey Caroline, would you like some congas on your set?" She just heard me play, and I guess I sounded fairly confident. Okay. Because she yelled, "Sure buddy, come on, bring your drums with you." Playing that set with her felt like the most natural thing in the world. Caroline felt it too. And I left Central City with a list of her next few weeks' gigs in my shirt pocket, without really having to pay dues. At 22 years old, I wrote her coattails straight to the A-list of the Atlanta acoustic scene. And since there were so few percussionists there, I got most of the gigs whenever other artists needed percussion, either on stage or in the recording studio. This was a circle of songwriters that included Indigo Girls, Sean Mullins, Billy Pilgrim, Christian Bush, Jennifer Nettles, and Kevin Kinney. And I had the good fortune of playing with and recording with all of them. Later on, I had dinner with a young, hungry songwriter from Berkeley and Boston named John Mayer. And I ended up playing on an album alongside Elton John. In the 36 years since, my phone hasn't stopped ringing, a fact for which I'm humble and grateful. The point here has nothing to do with me or these folks. The point is that all of these experiences began with one awkward, angst-ridden offer to sit in with an artist at Central City Park in Macon, Georgia. I often wonder what my career might have looked like had I not taken that one chance. One uncomfortable ask can change everything. Did for me. Walking out on other folks is scary, but that's where the fruit is. And if you don't advocate for yourself, who will? So I encourage you, roll the dice. Audition for positions in choirs and churches and orchestras that you think you have no chance of winning. If you sit on your hands waiting to be noticed, there you will sit 50 years from now. So speak up. Tactfully interject yourselves into situations with musicians better than you. Also, give yourself permission to have two simultaneous careers. I learned and had to learn due to hunger that it was not beneath me. It was not beneath me to have a day job. So I became a teacher, an administrator, and a college professor in a completely different field. At the same time, I made 70 records, backing Grammy-nominated and platinum-selling artists. I played on my first Rolling Stone magazine top 25 album and headlined the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville in my 50s. In music, everything is possible, and I'm living proof. Here are a few suggestions. Never plan an engagement without first agreeing to your compensation. Notice who's laughing. It's an uncomfortable topic, and you usually have to bring that one up first. Okay? Protect your good name. Your reputation is all you have. Remember that the most important part of your body is not your hands, your diaphragm, or your embouchure. It is your ears. Use the same ears that make you a good musician on stage to listen to the lessons that veteran musicians share with you off stage. I've honestly never learned a darn thing with my mouth open. Join as many circles of players as you can. Embrace change, folks, because it's coming. Accept change with grace rather than kicking and screaming your way through life. Build relationships with everybody. Be above no one. Success really does begin with who you know, not what you know. Our parents were really right about that. And most importantly, graduates, be original. Be original. Remember that you don't have to be anybody other than who you are. There is no external validation on the planet that can make you more valuable than you are right now, today. And there is no amount of criticism that can diminish or take away your worth, your value, or your meaning. The greatest night of music that I have ever experienced did not involve me playing a single note. On March 21st, 1991, Ray Charles was booked to play the City Auditorium for one of the first Cherry Blossom concerts. On the day of the show, I leaned out of my third floor window at the corner of Cherry and 2nd Streets. Fatty's Pizza is downstairs now. That top round turreted window, that was my bedroom. I leaned out of that window, looked down the street toward the City Auditorium at the people flocking toward the concert. It had been too late to get tickets, and the show was completely sold out. Sitting in my room, kicking myself for missing this opportunity, I looked up at the tuxedo hanging from my closet door from the Macon Symphony shows I had played the week before. Then I had to leave. It was a ridiculous long shot, but I had to try. I threw on my tux, tucked some sheet music and drumsticks underneath my arm, and despite being a bundle of nerves, I walked down the block and toward the backstage entrance. Because I was scared to death, all I could think of to do was just act like I owned the place. Upon my arrival, a burly security guard stepped between me and the door. He grasped the handle, opened it wide, and said, "Here you go, sir." I nodded a very professional, "Thank you." Walked past him and started blending in with the hired orchestra players, milling around backstage, tuning up and making their way to the stage. Just as the house lights dimmed, I set up a metal folding chair in the wings. Over the next hour and a half, I watched Brother Ray play the finest show I've ever seen from 15 feet away. See, you have to try. What you seek is not going to just happen. You've got to make it happen. Stay home, yes. But walk into every setting believing that you belong there, because graduates, you do belong there. You're already good enough. A guy named Ken Needham taught me that. Just walk in like you own the place. As you go forth from Mercer, I encourage you to play at the edge of your ability, take chances, and be an original. You have prepared and matriculated from a first-grade conservatory. You have very much earned your degrees. Graduation tomorrow will be the last time in your lives that all of you are together in the same place at the same time. So savor it. Remember your Townsend roots. This is the place from where you came. You are Mercer Music, and those who came before you could not be proud of your work and achievements. Godspeed to the class of 2026.